The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Thursday, April 30th, 2020. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate your patience with this late episode. I had to do a lecture this morning for a friend who teaches economics in Mississippi. And so, I'm going to be bringing you portions of that. Actually, no, I think I'm going to just drop that for patrons only. It was a good conversation. It was about 25 young and bright-eyed students who were eager to not listen. No, I'm joking. We actually had a great time. So that whole lecture on income inequality and COVID-19 will be available to patrons, patreon.com/BPD show. I want to talk today about, well, there's 30.3 million unemployed in 6 weeks, 60,000 dead in 6 weeks. But this morning, the newest unemployment numbers have come out. 30.3. I believe it was around 4 million more this week, or 3.8 million more this week. And the full abdication of the responsibility of our leaders. Literally. Ask yourself this question, and maybe, just maybe, I'm not watching enough news. But I consume enough news to know that there's no significant leadership on the issue of what do we do for the unemployed? What do we do in terms of the recovery of the unemployed? In other words, what happens in times of these crises is that our economy really does a realignment. And in that realignment, certain sectors kind of go the way of the dinosaur. And there's a good possibility that these millions, these 30, we're probably going to hit 50 million before it's all said and done. They will not have jobs when this is over. Not only because consumption has changed irrevocably. I think consumption in this country is never going to be the same unless Macy's throws a new deal on on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and then everybody's just going to lose their damn minds. But I digress. I think you have to realize, though, that in these types of shifts, the people who lose their jobs are often never made whole again. And where is the leadership from either party as it pertains to making them whole again? That's the question. And I don't think there's anybody on either side of the aisle who's genuinely concerned about the well-being of those households, all those people who lost their jobs. More people are concerned about their little pittance, the $600 a week. You know, they're being incentivized to work and blah, blah. No. Do you know these people understand the unemployment process? Make sure that you understand that this is temporary. That you're not going to get $600 a week every week for the rest of your life just because you were laid off. In fact, it only lasts about 4 months, and which puts them right dead smack in the middle of this pandemic. In most cases, they will be unable to live without putting their lives at risk going back into this coronavirus. And then here's the other side of it, right? I think we need to come to terms with something. Trickle-down economics has been this entire time a lie. Supply side economics, more specifically, has been a lie. U.S. personal spending is down 7.5% in March. And that 7.5% drop in March precipitated or led to all of these jobs being gone. Right? And so when consumers don't consume, you don't have any, your economy is crashed when you're a 75% consumer-based economy. People did everything they could for years to argue against the reason we should put money into the hands of the consumers is because if you put money into the hands of the consumers, then consumers do what they do, which is consume. The argument against it was, well, that's not really real. You need to put money in the hands of investors because investors invest. And if they don't invest, here was the catch. If they don't invest, then they're going to save. And then banks are going to be able to turn those savings into other investments. Well, we saw in the 2008 bailout that wasn't the case. What they did was they offshored about $2 trillion worth of money. whereas consumers were left out to dry. In 2008, we made the decision to not bail out homeowners. We bailed out the banks, and they got the houses as well as the money for their houses. In other words, they double dipped. They got the houses that they foreclosed on in 2008, plus they got money from the government to pay them for what they lost on the houses. And instead of taking care of the homeowners, we just left them to go become renters. This entire system is broken. And actually, let me finish making the case that consumers create demand. It's clear as day. Consumers run the economy. Consumers, you and me, labor is critical, but I don't think we've ever organized based on consumption. I know it sounds ridiculous, but do we see the power that we have with just a 7.5% drop in March? We tanked this whole goddamn economy. And it wasn't on purpose. It's not like we organized and planned on doing it. It happened because we could not go out and consume at the level that we've been consuming. Who would have thought being stuck in your house would save you thousands of dollars a month? And now they're doing everything they can to possibly do to get the economy back to where it was. And that's exactly what we have to fight against. There is power in our consumption. More precisely, no, let me fix that statement. The power is in refusing to consume. If we refuse to consume, we bring this entire capitalistic endeavor to its knees. Who cares how many widgets you can create? Who cares how many employees you staff to sell your widgets when people aren't buying them shits? Consumer power is the greatest thing, the greatest weapon that we have at our disposal against this capitalistic institution. And we never thought we could find a way to break free from that. And the coronavirus came along and said, not only must you break free to save your lives, but you're going to have to stay your butts home until you figure out this pandemic. So that's the critical thing in this moment, right? We have an entirely broken system led by political leaders who are doing everything they can to get us back to this same broken system. And sitting in the middle of all of our hands is the power that we have over Wall Street, over the federal government, over politicians. And that power simply is to not consume anything more than what we need to survive. My God, who knew we were that powerful? And they're trying their best to make sure that you don't understand how powerful you are. And here's the thing. Here's the other thing. Here's the flip side of it. They could artificially inflate this economy. I mean, listen, there are going to be parts of the economy that just are done for a long while. Okay. Restaurants, they're in trouble. And there should be a bailout for real legitimately small owned restaurants, not Ruth Chris Steakhouse. Okay. Because people are not going to go sit down in restaurants for a while, not at the level that they used to. And this is the thing, like, you're always going to have these outliers. People are going out here in Atlanta and they're going out to restaurants and they're trying to get back life to normal. But the majority of us are like, hell to the no. Not to be so dramatic, but like 90% of Democrats believe that this is too soon to open up the economy. I think some 80% of Republicans. So it's a bipartisan agreement. We're not going outside. And so no matter how many people in that outlier, that 10%, go out and consume at regular levels, you're not going to get your economy back until consumers are confident that they are safe in public. And we're not going to be safe in public until we get a vaccine. So whether they like it or not, folks, we are in this for the long run. And the only thing that you could do is exacerbate the situation by trying to force labor back out. And that's what they're trying to do. They are trying to force labor back out. And that's precisely what is going to cause an actual revolution. Because if you make people have to decide between living and living, like going to work and dying or staying at home and starving, they're going to pick the third option, which is take to the streets. But that is the way that Republicans think that they can fix this economy. And it's so short-sighted. It is so short-sighted because even if employees, staff, every business in this country, consumers are not going to return to the level, consumption rather, is not going to return to the levels of pre-corona until there's a vaccine. What they're hoping is by forcing people to go to work, that after work, they'll go to the bar and they'll go back about their life on a normal basis. No. That's not how it's going to work, because those jobs are not going to stay open because people aren't going to come in to buy. What they need more than anything else is that indentured servitude, that sharecropper model where the people who come to their jobs are actually the consumers. The people who come to work at Walmart are their consumers. That's what they're counting on. But still, there are enough free people who are not working at Amazon, who don't have to go to Amazon and don't have to consume from Amazon, even though Amazon is a really bad example because it's online and people are consuming from the safety of their homes. So let me switch that example and put in Walmart. People who don't work at Walmart don't go to Walmart because it's not safe to go outside to go to Walmart. But all in all, we have been completely abandoned by both political parties, and let the record ever reflect that there has been a complete abdication of duty and responsibility from our political leaders such that we have never seen in our lifetimes. Never before have we faced such an unprecedented crisis where we have leadership that is feckless and incompetent and the complete dereliction of duty. From Nancy Pelosi to Chuck Schumer to Tim Clyburn, and most certainly the white supremacist in chief Donald Trump. Leaving America to fend for itself with some patchwork of states trying to figure out how we can survive this pandemic while the government, the federal government, is on vacation. Literally, this is no hyperbole. The House of Representatives aren't going to come back until sometime in May. At the beginning of a pandemic. Shame. I promise if nothing else lasts from our civilization, I hope the shame that is properly due every elected official lasts through eternity, so that when people mention the United States of America, if we haven't been completely forgotten, they will know and always remember that it was both Republicans and Democrats, both Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi, that abandoned the American people in our darkest hour of our lifetimes. And with that, let's have a patron party.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Let's do it. Very special welcome and thank you to all of our newest patrons. Without you, this is not possible. Welcome aboard to Michael Peterson. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Hope Conklin, thank you so much for becoming a patron. I'm going to guess that this name is I'm. Thank you so much for becoming a patron, and I'm sorry for massacring your name. Chris Boland, thank you also for becoming a patron. This show is not possible without each and every one of you, so let's celebrate you for about 30 seconds. Here we go. That's it. Yeah. Now won't he do it? You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show, where you generally get twice the content, but you most certainly never get advertisements like you're going to get right here.
Welcome back to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Yep. Welcome back. I want to take a minute to show you. I want you to hear, rather. Excuse me. You don't show people on podcasts, but I want you to hear this response to a question from on CNBC by Nancy Pelosi, and it really just shows you. The question was so poignant, and it shows you. I think the question was by Kramer. I forgot Kramer's first name, but it shows you just how incapable Nancy Pelosi is of answering a question about the average working person. And I want to preface it by saying this. Of course, And I'm only giving this caveat, not for you, my regular listeners who understand that no one is above critique on this show, but for the intentionally obtuse who would suggest that, oh, you are supporting Donald Trump by, I don't know, what am I doing? By bringing valid and legitimate critique about the complete abdication of responsibility to the working class of the Democratic Party who are led by Nancy Pelosi. For those people, I want to make it clear that we are stuck between a rock and a hard place, because as bad as Nancy Pelosi is in this clip, yes, Donald Trump is worse, but neither one of them are doing anything to help the people that are hurting. Listen to it for yourself.
As I listen to the changes that you're talking about, telemedicine, study at home, I think, okay, we're in a world where people who are wealthy, people who have jobs, contracts, they can stay at home. I see another world. I see the possibility of two societies developing. Society that has to be out there every day, in the masses, subways, risking themselves. And then this other group of people who are safe at home with all sorts of computers, very rich, a society that is not what you and I want to see. How do we prevent that?
Well, let us do it all together. This is a moment of truth for our country about who we are. What is the humanity of America? We wanted to support the small businesses. They are the vitality of our economy, the dreams that people have, the entrepreneurship, the risk they're willing to take for an idea. And so that's why we all gathered and wrote the PPP for that, so that we can try to reach as many people as possible for their jobs and their businesses. But that was not being done in a way that reached the underbanked and the rest to address your disparity issues. And in our second bill, we were very proud to be able to do that as we increased funding for hospitals and testing essential to how soon we can open up.
That's a no answer.
But if you gave everyone in America, every child in America, a laptop, he or she may still not have access, or seniors or anyone, but think about the kids in school and the rest, if they don't have service. So one of the things we'd like to see, and as we go forward, is that we will have funding for broadband, always on, high speed, all over America. Because kids now, even if they have a laptop, they can't even go to a library or a school or a cafe or any place in order to have access to the network. So that is that digital divide is now becoming a digital chasm, and we have to really address that. So there are many disparities, whether it's access to testing and health care that would go with that, whether it's access to credit, which is what we try to correct in the other bill, whether it's access to the internet, which is our means of communication, and also if it's respect for the Postal Service, which is for many of these people, and especially largely in rural areas,
answer the damn question.
Well as urban, how they get their medicines or their products that they've ordered and the rest. So we have to understand what connects us as a country, what unifies as a country. And I'm very confident that when people realize the assault that this has made, not only the health, the lives of the people and the livelihood of people, but to the sense of community of who we are as a country, we'll have an opportunity to do something working together, recognizing the role that every aspect of our society plays in it, the public sector, the private sector, et cetera.
What?
The public sector, when we do our bills, state and local, that really means honor our heroes, our healthcare workers, our first responders, our trans people, our food delivery services,
Jesus Christ.
Food providers in every way, Postal Service, the list goes on and on.
What the? I wanted to play that in its entirety so that you don't feel like I cut. I mean, I know my audience trusts me, but I know there's people listening. We got people listening to my show who like to cut it up and try to use it against me, but whatever. I wanted you to hear that in its entirety because I wanted you to hear the question as well as her full answer so that you could experience what I experienced. The nothing burger, the nothingness of that answer, completely disregarding the substance and the spirit of that man's question, which is ironically enough coming from a CNBC anchor who always talks about who always talks about the markets and, that's his preeminent concern. But in the midst of this pandemic, he realized, you know what, there's something else going on here. What else is going on here is that now we have a two-tiered society, right? We've always been stratified, but now we have a definitive two-tier society. You have those people who have to go to work and those people who can work it from home. Those people who have to go into the pandemic to make their money, and those of us, including me, who can make their money from home. And because of the unjustness of that, we need to do something for the people who have to go to work because our lives depend on it, because we need somebody to make sure that there's food. And we're not paying those people hazard pay. We're not insuring and making sure that they have life insurance and making sure that they have everything that they need. So in the worst case, every single essential worker who dies in this pandemic needs, this means nothing to them. But to put it in perspective, they deserve a hero's funeral. They deserve more of honor and pomp and circumstance than any goddamn politician that ever lived. Any of them. There's not you give me a grocery worker who died on behalf of making sure that we had food. And they are more deserving of everything, every honor this country could give. And she could not address the substance of that because she's soulless. And she's completely sold out to this paradigm that does not cannot afford the American people to have a bit of class consciousness about them. A bit of understanding about how broken this system is. Because if they ever do something about the injustices and the inequity in this country, it would awaken so many more people to the rest of the inequity and inequality and injustice. And so they give this garbled, this jumbled, like nothing. This is the most powerful woman in the nation, arguably in the world. Third in command to the White House, third in line for the White House. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. And this is all she's got for people who put their lives on the line to deliver ice cream to her house. Shame, goddamn shame on her. And every single Democrat and every single Republican, the ruling elite, everybody in Washington, D.C., the media, all of them are complicit with this. The complete abandonment of the people who keep our society afloat. And as if, I'm going to start doing, I know what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start having more intellectual conversations and speaking to academics, and we could just kind of navel gaze. We're going to get into really the lofty thinking era of my show, because talking about politics only makes me want to take it to the streets because of the absurdity of it all, because of the stupidity with which we're surrounded with, the sheer disregard for human life, the sheer disregard for millions of people. Talking about it is just insufficient. And I can't really go out into the storm right now. We can't really hit the streets like I want to. But I promise you, it's like, if it's time, it's well past time. These people have left us to fend for ourselves. Not even that. It would be better if they had left us alone to figure this out by ourselves. But in even like states like Iowa, they're trying to force us out into the pandemic to do the bidding of the ruling elite. That's what they're trying to do. They're forcing our hand. They are forcing our hand, and we have to bring them to their knees. And ironically enough, the one thing that we can do, we can't take to the streets yet, but the one thing we can do is flatline our consumption. I mean, if we go one step further and flatline the little trinkets that we're buying on Amazon, we could even bring Amazon to its knees. But that would require the participation of people who don't even agree with this class analysis, liberals and people of the bourgeois, conservatives too, right? The cosmopolitan class who are comfortably like that Baker was talking, Kramer was talking about in that clip. The cosmopolitan class who are sitting in their very luxurious homes and ordering $1,000 worth of stuff on Amazon every day just because they're bored and they've got nothing else to do. But we working class and upper working class, lower middle class, wherever we fall, middle class, whatever the hell, anybody who has class solidarity across their own economic strata, we can still bring this system to its knees by refusing to consume. That's got to be our protest. Refusing to consume. We can't tell people, here's the thing. Consumption beyond your need to survive is a luxury that everybody participates in, right? Everyone who has disposable income. People who have to go to work just to get food to survive, it is asking too much for them to strike, in my opinion, because they have no immediate, unless they have to save up their money. You cannot ask a person to go hungry. That's not praxis. That's not solidarity. You know, are we going to make sure that every person who strikes from their job has money enough to eat? Right? We can't ask people to rent strike unless everybody in their building rent strikes. I mean, I rent from an individual. So if I decide to rent strike, it's going to be easy for him to come put me out. So everybody's not in the same place in terms of labor and in terms of rent. But you know where most of us are in the same place? All we have to spend our money on is our basic survival needs. That's where we should strike. Don't spend anything above the bare necessities to survive. And why would you do that anyway? It's not like you can go out to the club and buy a bottle, right? That's where our power is in this moment. That's where that's where we can be the most effective. That's where we bring capitalism to its knees.
We'll make it up. You put us together. We'll make it up. You put us together. We'll make it up. You put us together.
This moment has been revealing. No, let me choose a different word. Not revealing, but confirming. What I long feared. Glenn Greenwald talked about this moment. He experienced it years ago, when he used to he wrote blogs early in the Bush years, going after George Bush for his war crimes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then Barack Obama came into office and he realized, holy shit, Democrats do the same goddamn thing. And he hasn't been the same ever since. Well, I started to notice some of the same trends, and now I'm in the same category. Holy shit, Democrats do the same goddamn thing. But this one is particularly so much more nefarious. I've been talking about it at length pretty much this week. And the Democratic Party and all of these activists, quote unquote activists, who have abandoned the Me Too movement on behalf of Joe Biden has been particularly repugnant. It has made me sick to my stomach because of all of the women who will no longer be believed. Why? When every time somebody comes up, if Me Too ever says another word, then it can easily be dismissed as political partisanship because they would not do to their own party what they did to Republicans. And truthfully, there's enough sexual assault to go around. Of course you should have known, doing this, that a person like Joe Biden probably is going to get caught up in it. You can look at the videos of Joe Biden. Can I just be real about you? Joe Biden was an arrogant, smug little son of, he was just one of the most disgustingly smug senators I've ever seen. Oh, the sense of entitlement in that man's eyes. I was reading an article from Counterpunch that was recounting allegations that came out in 2008 when he was picked to be the VP. And in that article, it discussed the particular vanity of the senators back in that day. Joe Biden being the lead amongst them. setting that aside, the disappointment in this moment really is that it shows that these people have no moral grounding. Pick Amy Klobuchar. I don't know that I would support her, but you sure as hell could not levy sexual assault allegations against her, and she would do a better job against Donald Trump. Now, obviously, I say that fully aware that if you do switch from Joe Biden, we're going to push like hell for Bernie Sanders because he's got the second most delegates and by far the best chance to beat Donald Trump. Yes, of course. But if you really are doing this in the name of beating Donald Trump, then why would you sell your soul on behalf of a person who does not have enough capacity to remember whether or not he did this? Here's Nancy Pelosi again. I'll talk about Stacey Abrams in a minute, but I want you to hear Nancy Pelosi as she, amongst everybody, it's Nancy Pelosi, it's Tarana Burke, the person who started the Me Too movement. It's Alyssa Milano who cashed in on it, right? She made herself relevant again, her B movies, her C movies, she's like a Z-lister celebrity, but the Me Too movement gave her new life. All of them have done it. Stacey Abrams fell on her sword yesterday. But I want to make sure that you understand that it's not just Stacey Abrams, because somebody accused me, you're attacking the black woman. You know nothing about my show. Everybody gets these rhetorical hands, including Nancy Pelosi. Listen in.
I have complete respect for the whole Me Too movement. I have 4 daughters and 1 son. And there's a lot of excitement around the idea that women will be heard and be listened to. There is also due process. And the fact that Joe Biden is Joe Biden, there's been statements from his campaign, or not his campaign, but his former employees who ran his offices and the rest, that there was never any record of this. There was never any record. And that nobody ever came forward, or nobody ever came forward to say something about it apart from the principal involved. I am so proud. The happiest day for me this week was to support Joe Biden for President of the United States. He's a person of great integrity, a great concern for the American people. He authored the Violence Against Women Act when he was the chair of the Judiciary Committee in the 90s. He has been an advocate for funding it all along since then. And I believe that he will be a great president of the United States. He is the personification of hope and optimism and authenticity for our country, a person of great values. So I want to remove all doubt in anyone's mind. I have a great comfort level with the situation as I see it, with all the respect in the world for any woman who comes forward, with all the highest regard for Joe Biden. And that's what I have to say about that.
The Democrats are hopeless. I'm sorry. I don't know. See, here's the thing. If you ask me how important it is to get rid of Donald Trump, I'm going to tell you it is a matter of life and death. If you ask me to sell my soul to get rid of Donald Trump, I'm going to tell you to kiss my ass. I just got to die. I can't. I cannot, me personally. So if you're trying to tell me the stakes in this campaign are so high that we should sell our souls, there are no stakes that are that high. Our system was broken before Donald Trump, and it's going to be broken after Donald Trump. And I cannot, in good conscience and good faith, stand by people who would just so cavalierly sell out the very thing that they swore to. That's my music. I got a lot more to say about this. Patreon.com/the BPD show. Thank you for being a beautiful audience. I see you with your good looking self. I know. I'm kind of erratic, but the erraticism will continue after this for patrons. Let's go.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.